My name's Will Sayer. I sail a Sigma 33C, which is, and the boat's name's Elmarleen, and I'm a member of Marchwood Yacht Club. So the race is run by SORC, Solar Ocean Racing Club, and it's a group of sailors who choose to sail solo because we have no friends and can't find crew. And I enjoy it more being on my own than I do with a crew, because there's only one person to blame, it's you. Or the weather, or the boat. One of the hardest things about sailing solo is you don't get much sleep, because you've obviously got to keep a constant lookout. The thing about the Fastnet course is you are hugging the coast of the UK all the way down to Land's End. You then have a little bit of respite between Land's End and the Rock, where you give yourself a bit more separation from land. You then cross a shipping lane again, or a ship separation scheme when you get to the Fastnet Rock, so obviously boats there. But the key thing is along the course, you're round a lot of headlands, you're always near land, and there's plenty of shipping about, so that's probably the most significant thing about the course. SORC have a number of races running through the year. To go straight into this without having not done any solo racing would be quite foolish. So to basically get out there and do some of the SORC races, there's some quite short races just around the island and things like that, which are quite a challenge if you've never sailed solo. So start small, start doing some of the local SORC races and build up some solo miles, build them up to a few overnight races, and then maybe a couple of overnights, and then try and get involved in some of these longer ones. I think 20 of all the boats, I think 17 finished, 23 retired. So it just goes to show it's not as easy as just getting on your boat and saying I'm going to do it. You do need to be quite well prepared. I like a challenge. I'm a sucker for punishment. It's not just about sailing, it's about the endurance. There's so much more to solo sailing than just the sailing. You've got to know your boat, you've got to be able to maintain your boat. Stuff breaks and you have to be able to fix it, or certainly that's my mentality. I don't retire if something breaks. I go about trying to fix it and try and keep the boat moving. So it's not sailing. That sailing is 1/5 of what it is, but sailing on your own, you've got to do everything. Sailing offshore on your own, you've also got to be an engineer, a mechanic. You've got to understand your boat. You've got to be able to fix everything, and just the whole thing. It's so much more than sailing, and I just love every minute of it. I had what I thought was a pretty good start out of the Solent, and I was going quite well, but it wasn't showing on the yellow brick track. It wasn't looking very good. We were then becalmed on Sunday, and again, people were dropping like flies and retiring all over the place, and I think probably by then we had probably lost like 20 or 30% of the fleet. We then headed down to the Lizard. I got the wrong side of a tidal gate. As I mentioned, everybody else disappeared off, and there was just a handful of slower boats there, and I was just thinking this isn't really coming together for me. And then the final thing was when I then put a tack in and went over towards Land's End, and as we were setting off, from Land's End you have the choice of which way to go of a ship separation scheme, and I chose to go towards the Isles of Scilly when the boat, British Beagle, I was competing most closely with, similar boat to me, one of the slower boats in the fleet, went the other way, and I instantly saw within 20 minutes of making that decision that it was probably the wrong decision at that moment in time. And just with everything that wasn't really coming together and it wasn't showing in the results, I thought, do I really want to go all the way to the Fastnet Rock just to it's the taking part that counts? I just do it. It'd be good to say I've done it and all this, when it's a day and a half there and a day and a half back. And I really did question whether I should do it, and I actually posted on Facebook, I think I've had enough, I'm thinking about retiring, and I didn't do it. For some reason I didn't push the tiller over, and it just shows that you should never give up anything in these races, especially races as long as this. If you make one error, it's such a small, if I threw away 3 hours, then over 6 days it's nothing. So I think that was just my emotion, because I was tired. I was 2 days in and hadn't had much sleep, and I wasn't thinking straight, and I was nearly tempted to retire, but I never pushed the tiller over and headed back. For some reason, something in me said keep going, and I did. Thank God I did.